or what in that case would raise my conviction level, I should say, that it is real or that he is telling the objective truth. And, one of those things is not only are there multiple witnesses to this, and take this however you want to take it, but all 7 of them.
How did he get put into the regression analysis psychiatry? Like whose idea was that, and when exactly did that happen?
I don't think it happened too long after, because I think he was so troubled by what had happened to him. Like, he was catatonic.
Oh, I can imagine.
He didn't even know what happened to him. He was just, you couldn't talk to him when pressed on, like, where were you type deal. He would just shut down. And if you look at the interview that Joe Rogan did with him, or you look at the interview that I did with him, he's like kind of happy, go lucky.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he talks about it, he has a 1,000-yard stare, and he doesn't even look at you in the eye. He's looking at something else. He's like there again. And that's heavy, man. That's really heavy. You can't fake that. Like, my dad was 30 years in the military and had PTSD, severe PTSD from like multiple tours in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff. And, you can tell. You can't fake that,
yeah.
And so for that alone, whatever it was he went through,
there.
He went through something really scary.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't know, it could have been something entirely different, but like there was something traumatic that happened to him out there, and the fact that it then lands on a story that is this detailed and this unique and this like fucked up, and there's a lot of things at the same time, makes it interesting. It's not this one-dimensional kind of like, I saw an alien and it fucked me, or something like that. It's more like, there's steps to it. There were different ones. He's in these different rooms. They're looking at him.
There's cover up too. There's like that part of the forest like burned down, but there were like trees that were actually cut prior that they didn't cut. There's a whole lot of shady stuff.
Does he remember when they dropped him off?
He does. He just remembers being on the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also, I think, one other witness of the craft initially was a hunter and his wife. That hunter was also CIA.
Oh, that's nice.
So you got to wonder, right?
Yeah, they're always there.
Right? It makes you wonder, like, why does that have to, does that have anything to do with the story?
Yeah.
So there are all these, like, so many people are quick to dismiss Travis's story based on the idea that they wanted to get out of a logging contract or something. There are better ways to get out of a logging contract.
I could think of a few.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be a mastermind.
Right.
It's what a weird way to make money. Like, none of these guys really profited from any of it, other than Travis, perhaps, because that's what he does for a living now. Because what are you going to do? You're going to go back to logging now? Like, after that, what do you do? No, of course. You write a book, you go on tour, you start talking about your story. That's what you do,
Yeah, and I think sometimes with some of these people that's something that'll get thrown at them, like, oh, you gotta monetize the whole thing or whatever. And I understand where that argument comes from, especially with some people who I'll remain unnamed. But at the same time, to your point, if your entire personal world order is that disrupted in a situation like that, like you described the ontological shock or like what it means about your place here, not just now on the planet, but you see yourself in a completely different light within the universe because of something that you've had access to that clearly almost no one else gets access to. It's like you can't relate to anyone anymore.
No.
He can't sit across from Chris Ramsay and be like, yo, you understand me, bro.
No.
It's
frustrating, endlessly frustrating for him.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That like people are talking with as like what ifs all the time.
Yes.
And he's just got to like sit on it and be like, yeah.
It's like if you knew, but I try to simulate that in my mind without the alien example, just like in general. If you knew like some crazy secret of the universe, whatever that is.
Yep.
And you knew you couldn't just whip out the proof of it to someone because that's kind of the whole point. But you knew it.
Yeah.
Is that enough to not drive you crazy? That and who the fuck cares? If other people want to call me crazy for knowing it, fine. Like, is that enough to be secure in yourself?
Yeah.
That
I think, no, absolutely. I don't know. I think it even goes deeper than that with him too, in that he doesn't want to share his story. It terrifies him. He wishes to this day that he never got out of that truck. He's like, I really wish I wish my life would be different. I didn't ask for this life. He didn't want it, you know? And when he's asked to tell his story, he always says, he sticks to his story. And then he always says, you know, if this can help people, then good. If it can help people, you know, that's it.
Yeah. It still creates and I feel bad about this sometimes, but it still creates the problem that a lot of people are going to want to try to get meaning out of their life by creating a reality in their head.
Yep.
Some people are going to straight up lie. Other people are actually going to start to believe the things they tell themselves.
Yeah.
And you're going to have all that noise.
Yeah.
Right? And you have all that noise of people saying things that, well, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It becomes the pile of shit that kind of drowns out anything that could be real. Like, I always think of it this way. I fight with Andy Bustamante on here about conspiracies and stuff all the time because he loves to give like the CIA propaganda line of like, well, never leave up to conspiracy what can be explained by stupidity. And I always say to him, I'm like, Andy, all right, let's hypothetically say that 99.9% of conspiracies that are out there that are told are bullshit, which actually, if you look at Twitter now, I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's still a lot. That 0.1%, that's a lot of major conspiracies, and that means there is truth there. The law of averages and big numbers says, though, that because you have that 99.9 on your side, every time I bring something up, even if it's something like an Epstein, like something that's legit, you can then say, well, this is a part of the 99.9. Yeah. You can always, it's never a part of the 0.1.
Of course.
You know, and I think on like the alien thing, that's on a whole different level because you will hear, I mean, I'll go into these Twitter spaces sometimes and you'll hear someone and I'm just like, well, this is complete bullshit. But then I'm like, well, when are you going to get to one that's not? And then would it all sound like bullshit anyway? Because it's something that I can't even conceive. I don't know.
Yeah. And then what do you need for it to be considered not bullshit is the other thing, right?
Right. How do I even judge that?
Yeah. So and you know, when it comes to disclosure, I think everybody's road to disclosure is different. I think it's a journey. I think it's an ontological shift that happens over time. You know, the more I'm exposed, I'm sure you as well, the more you're exposed to people who are studying the phenomenon or who have experienced things, your meter, you know, sways up and down, but it seems to be like, okay, your conviction level grows over time, and then you start putting your own ontology against that. And then at one point, when you're given new information like this, you have to treat it in one of three ways. You have to either ignore it, fit it into your worldview, like into the current model that everyone's built, the one that you've lived with, or expand your worldview. Those are the only three choices you have. And most people will ignore and fit it into their current model. Very few people will expand their worldview and let other things in because it's scary and it's meaningless. Because I'm going to let all this in and then what? And then go to work and then, you know, and plan a birthday or like all these like weird things that, you know, are kind of, you know, just so meaningless in the grand scheme of things. You know, how would I function? So I get why people would default to not believing or not wanting to expand their worldview, I should say, which is perfectly normal. But I think for a lot of people, doing it gradually is the way to go. I think that's how we get disclosure is through conversation. It's generational. You know, if you look at from the late 40s to now, you know, that's a couple generations. Give it another 2-3 generations,
sure.
and this will be, a lot of it will be common sense, hopefully, or at least the notion that we're not alone. Like let's just go get there. You know what I mean? Like the sheer size of the universe is so baffling. But then you look at cases like Travis's. If I go back to Travis for a second,
please,
and you have to wonder what in that case would help me believe, or what in that case would raise my conviction level, I should say, that it is real or that he is telling the objective truth. And, you know, one of those things is not only are there multiple witnesses to this, and take this however you want to take it, but all 7 of them passed their lie detector tests, police lie detector tests. That's a big deal. That's like, okay, a lie detector is not a lie detector, it's a stress detector test.
Yes.
However, that's 7 people who are not trained to you know, sort of fool those machines. The odds are that one of them is going to fail. if they're not if they're bullshitting, right? And they're under a lot of stress. They all passed, right? So there's things like that kind of just raise my conviction level a little bit more.
Did any of them remember slight details differently of the story? Like not the basic of like, oh, he was hit by a beam and that, so they passed on that, but were there little details that each one had that were like, oh, this guy was standing over here, so he saw that. This girl was standing over here, so she saw that?
I can't tell you, but I would assume so. I would assume there are some like varying details there, but I think the core detail is that they were all terrified of what they saw, and that is and again, even Travis would say, and he said this, in my interview with him, he's not saying they're from Zeta Reticuli. He's not saying they're ultra-terrestrial or interdimensional. He's even open to the idea that this is an American military project.
Meaning not alien at all.
Yeah, because he's like, there were like human-looking things involved. So he's like, maybe it's some secret, weird project. He's not excluding anything. He's not convinced that it's one thing. He has information. Here's the information.
Right.
It's up to us as researchers, to take that information, catalog it, and hold it up against the other findings, like those other cases we mentioned, which happened before and after, which are similar, right? I think those things, for me, raise my conviction a little bit more by a few points.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.